Don't forget to check out the Hockey Podcast Network's newest affiliate, NHLShop.com. That's right, the official NHL merchandise page. Right now, they're giving 20% off orders over $25 with code NHLICE25. Also, if you use our link that we're going to tweet out after this episode, you can help support us and the other hosts at the Hockey Podcast Network.
This is the Hockey Podcast Network, your home for hockey talk on every team in the NHL.
Welcome to Offside by a Mile, the podcast for anything and everything Colorado Avalanche, and the official Avs podcast for the Hockey Podcast Network. Well, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Offside by a Mile podcast. Jared and myself, Tyler, in studio as usual. Lots to talk about for hockey news in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
First thing I got to get to is just annoyances in my life, and the fact that like my hair needs a haircut real bad. Like
You just got to get out the old razor.
okay, my hair's definitely been longer this year for sure, but it's fucking annoying because there is no light at the end of the tunnel right now. Like I can't be like, I'm just lazy and I'm not going to the barber. No. It's just gonna get longer.
But
shit's fucked.
But when?
The good thing is like at least I had a haircut somewhat but close to when shit went sideways.
Yeah.
So it's not like super bad. Like I'm sure people's worse. Like
Yeah.
yours is longer than mine.
Yeah, maybe.
I think.
I'll probably reshave her pretty soon here.
Yeah, and like I don't want to just shave it off, and I don't have hair cutting scissors at home. Like I have kitchen scissors. That ain't gonna fucking do.
Yeah.
I just like my ears are getting itchy because like put my fucking computer glasses on when I'm staring at the computer all day, so I don't get a goddamn migraine.
Yeah.
And it's just like the hair on my ears is itchy, and I don't like it. And this is first world problems, Corona problems. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's a damn struggle right now.
At least, if you mess up your own haircut, you won't be the only one out there. I don't know if you've seen some of those videos on the internet, but they're fucking hilarious.
My wife has shown me a lot of like the bangs ones for chicks that are
Yeah.
like fucking other bangs. So those are pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that. I'd rather have long hair than have super fucked up hair. But at the same time, I don't like it. And it's one of life's little miseries right now, and it's bothering me a lot.
Well, yeah.
On the second around the quarantine, well, not annoyance, but thing that's happening in my life, I am now joining in on the hipster movement of making sourdough bread. So my sourdough starters are at home currently being fed.
Oh, nice.
So I have joined in on that fad, I guess we can call it. I'm pretty excited about being a little stay-at-home baker.
There you go.
Very exciting. Just to give myself some street cred. I need hockey, please.
Yeah, these are the things we're worrying about right now. Haircuts and sourdough bread.
I need hockey.
Not fucking playoff hockey.
For the love of Pete, it should be hockey time.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about the UFC before on the podcast. Not very often. This is a hockey podcast, clearly.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, we were playing video games last night, and he reminded me at 11:15 p.m. last night that Tony Ferguson and Habib would have just finished.
Oh, yeah, it would have been yesterday. Or
He's
Saturday.
He's like 11:15 on Saturday night. He's like, dude, it was supposed to be the end of that fight just now. Fuck!
So that was the fifth time, I believe, that they've scheduled that fight. 6 is coming.
6 is coming. Yeah.
So, lucky number 6.
Well, it's just like, I know we're trying to like point to like the bad luck people that have caused Corona. Like, maybe it was Wayne Gretzky trying to avoid Ovechkin passing his goal record. Maybe it was. Maybe it was just the fact that the Edmonton Oilers were probably going to win the Pacific Division. Maybe that. Maybe it was the fact that like our next guest is going to talk about, kind of the Vancouver Canucks were actually probably going to make the playoffs. Maybe it was that. Or maybe it was just the fact that Tony Ferguson was supposed to be in the fight of the year against Habib Nurmagomedov. My mouth is just not going to work for that word. Nurmagomedov. There we go.
There you go.
Maybe that right there. That is the center of the problem. Maybe that's why. Because Tony Ferguson, for those that don't know, has got to be the unluckiest fighter in the UFC.
Yeah, he's up there for sure. Right?
Dude gets hurt tripping on a cord before a fight that was supposed to be fight of the year. Tony Ferguson is arguably one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC. And the dude can't step in a ring without any drama. Like, and it's not like Conor McGregor where he makes drama. No. This guy just like, it just happens.
Falls in his lap, and then he trips on a cord.
He is the reason. He is like legitimately the unlucky reason why.
It's because they scheduled that fight, and the world's like, hell no.
Actually, no, that can't happen.
Like what's going to be the next thing that'll happen? Like once this is all finished and they sign that fight again, what the fuck's going to happen now?
Yeah,
well, I don't know.
Right? Because now
Khabib will get locked up, put in jail or something.
I believe Gaethje and Ferguson now, the new fight for Ferguson is supposed to happen on Fight Island, quote unquote.
They were supposed to, yeah.
Which maybe that's not. That'll happen and the island will like sink into the ocean or something. Because I know that's how islands work. Okay,
be a volcanic eruption.
Yeah, maybe. Wherever this Fight Island, maybe it's near the volcano on Hawaii or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And it's just gonna like get covered in soot or something. I don't know. You never know. Dana White doesn't want to tell people where the fuck it is, so I mean, we can speculate.
Yeah, being a fight fan, that is such a struggle because you want to see that fight, and like, it's got to happen eventually. But
so I want to see Tony Ferguson and Habib. However, I want to see Tony Ferguson and Gaethje as well.
Yeah.
But if Gaethje comes in and fucks up Tony Ferguson and Habib, then
you're never gonna see Khabib and Ferguson.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's like, God damn it!
It's like you gotta just say, sorry, Justin. We gotta go back to this.
Sorry, you gotta throw this fight.
Yeah.
Make it WWE style.
Triple threat. Put a cage.
Our friend just, I was already not having a very good night because I could not kill people in Call of Duty last night. And then he just added on to the fact that we should have been watching fights. Yeah. And my night was ruined.
It's just
and
over.
I was very upsetty. Never forgetty. Anyway, on to the Avs. On to a week that was, there was a little bit of news. Now, the Avs didn't do a whole lot. The St. Louis Blues did a fair amount of stuff this week. They signed a couple of players, which is weird. Scandella to a fairly pricey deal from what I expected. I don't think it's too much. It's just more lucrative than I expected it to be for something that St. Louis would do because their defense core is pricey if you include Pietrangelo.
Yeah.
Right? I still bank that he's going to re-sign in St. Louis for sure. But in the Avs news, there wasn't a whole lot of much going on. Jared Bednar did have a interview with the boys from Altitude. And again, if you're looking for Avs content, that's where you go. It seems like Altitude's releasing at least one or two things a day.
Yeah, they had Sakic on there a couple days ago as well.
Yeah, and then they had the thing with the alum, like Tucker and those boys on.
Right, yeah, they had Stefan Yell.
Yeah, and Hayduk and so there's been some good stuff.
There's lots of content out there for
Bednar
the
seems
boys. The
thing that really stood out, and I'm sure it stood out to a lot of people, was the fact that Bednar thinks that his team and his players are ready to go, which is pretty optimistic in my opinion.
Yeah,
as we're gonna talk about with our guest coming up in 5 minutes or so here, is the fact that I'd assume the players are probably not working out very hard. I'm not saying they're getting out of shape like me, but I'm sure they're not exactly in game shape at the moment. So a week or two, as Bednar is confident in, seems a little optimistic for me. However, the Avs are not going to be the only team in the same boat. As everybody's going to have the same kind of what's the word I'm looking for? In shapeness. That's not.
Oh, I like it.
That's a good
hashtag.
Word. Hashtag
in
shapeness. Fuck, my brain is broken.
It's a great one. I like it. That's a word I come up with. What the hell are you doing with that?
In shapeness. I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for right now. My brain is broken. Oh, god damn. On that note,
Condition.
yeah, conditioning. That's the word. You did it. Attaboy.
Like what could he be looking for?
In shapeness.
We're keeping it.
We're
in
keeping
shapeness.
that. Yeah.
We'll edit out conditioning. Fuck that.
Yeah, no, that didn't even
in
happen.
Shapeness.
Yeah. In shapeness. Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited for a time when when hockey comes back, just like anybody else, obviously, right?
Mm.
But I don't think I can be that optimistic there, Jared.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like it's got to be hard to have the motivation to do it as well right now for a lot of those players, and especially with the players that don't have like the luxury that like Gabe Landeskog has, where he's got like a huge freaking gym in his house that he's quarantined in. Like a lot of people probably just have, you know, like body weight, you know, stuff that they can do, and that's like about it.
Go for a run. Well, guess what? Running is not the same as skating.
That too, like we talk about in a little bit here with our guest, which we'll announce in a sec. But yeah, it's like, how do you practice skating? Like you just don't.
Rollerblades don't cut it.
That too, like you could say rollerblades, but like, have you ever rollerbladed a lot and then you go out with ice skates? Like I used to do that way back, you know, over the course of the summer, go for some rollerblades and rollerblade, play some roller hockey. And then you go and use normal skates, and you're just lost almost.
Bambi out there.
It feels weird. So there's only so much you can do.
But yeah, so I guess this week's Across the Quarantine, presented by Manscaped, as usual. Again, the Manscaped deal is still around. The 20% off, free shipping, all that good stuff. Manscaped 3.0. Using the code THPN, still kicking. They're still happy with us. You know, all is good. Maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need to get a lawnmower for my head. Not for my Manscaped area. Just for my head. Too. I can use it there, but I'm going to use it on my head first. Yeah. I mean, us folks they could just send it to us finally. That'd be cool. And I could just get it for free and then shave my head and then all would be good.
And then you can, you know, show it off.
Well, see, I could shave my head, and then I don't think you or Brett would be so grossed out. So then maybe you could then shave your head. Unlike shaving your genitals, I don't think we're going to be sharing
I just shaved my balls with this. You want to try it out?
You want to try it out on your balls?
Yes.
Yes, please. Please give that to me. Anyway, THPN, that's the code, 20% off, free shipping again, like I said, on anything, not just the Lawnmower 3.0, on anything that Manscaped sells.
They got a bunch of good products out there.
If I had a beard that was, you know, real, not just I'm lazy and don't shave, like Jared, he's got a beard. You know, beard oil and stuff like that would be legit.
Yeah.
Anyway, Across the Quarantine, around the world in 60 days, and the world being the Central Division, we're almost there.
Yeah.
This week's guest is from the Minnesota Wild podcast for the Hockey Podcast Network, the Soda Pod. Isha, also one of the bosses of the Hockey Podcast Network.
Our main man.
Yeah, our main man. A man of many guests. Apparently the busiest guy around. You'll hear that in a minute. But yeah, so buckle up. It's going to be a good time. Check it out. Well, this week's Across the Quarantine guest comes to you by way of trailer. Been on our podcast once or twice before. The boss, the man, one of the bosses, I guess, one of the founders of the Hockey Podcast Network, and voice of the Soda Pod, the Minnesota Wild podcast for the Hockey Podcast Network, Isha. How's it going, man?
It's going good. I mean, I'm probably one of the luckiest people to be isolated on a almost 4-acre property with some friends who always got some work for me. There's mountain bike trails in my backyard. I got the beach about 5 minutes away, right in front of where I'm staying right now. And and I've been taking care of myself without having to go to a day job right now, but still staying busy managing the network. So thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast when I came on last time, I remember, and I know it's gonna be just as fun today.
Oh yeah. You know, our self-isolating, our I don't know, we'll call it 15 minutes of normal, I guess, with you today.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like we only get one kind of normal feeling day a week now.
Yeah, I just it's so weird trying to wake up. Like, I was joking around on Friday. My wife had the day off. I woke up, my alarm going off, thinking it was Saturday, and going, "What the hell's happening?" Oh yeah, it's Friday. I gotta work. Shit.
Yeah, it's so weird, and it's both like it's interesting that we're all kind of sharing that feeling together, almost worldwide, in every country anyways that's developed, who we can empathize with and connect with via social media and whatnot. So we're kind of all going through the same thing, and it really, it didn't hit me until last week, because I've just been in this managerial bubble all year, and I'm juggling university, obviously personal stuff, work, and the network, that I've been just so like in a work mode pretty much since October to now. And it hit me last week, where I now, been able to take my foot off the gas a little bit with the reduced schedule here on the network, and while just kind of preparing for season 2. But it hit me that like there's no fucking Stanley Cup playoffs, man. This is like what this. I didn't grow up in a family that celebrated Christmas really intensely or whatever. My dad being Persian and my mother just kind of being a hippie American, and like this is my fucking Christmas, and I'm freaking out now, man. Because I love the Capitals. I got no Caps to watch. I love the Canucks. They're finally able to make it. Minnesota was 1 fucking point out. Like, it's killing me. It's killing me.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Like,
we've been talking about this for weeks, and just like the hypothetical series that were on deck for the first round too, and you're just like, are you kidding me right now that those are just gone?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just going through like all the potential matchups, like whether it's from points, whether it's win percentage, like etc. You can go down the list. Like, there, I mean, in that, and I think actually Matthew Arp, the doctor on the Ice Analytics podcast, or on his Twitter account, anyways, highlighted that like there was one scenario where the fucking Wild would have taken on the Flames, and then they would have won. They would have been able to beat the Flames.
I don't know.
I mean, I may be grasping from straws, but I think that's the best series that Minnesota probably could have drawn. With how the years were, how this year was going for the Flames, and how Minnesota was playing down the stretch. So from someone covering the Minnesota Wild and just getting so into that marketing culture, and just everything that comes with being in and around the state of hockey, even from afar on social media and whatnot, like I was pissed, man. I'm pissed.
Yeah. But unless you saw the simulation, I can't remember who it was that did the simulation where the Flames actually won the cup.
Oh right, yeah, it was. I think it was CBS. What was it, earlier in the week?
Yeah, it was this week.
Pops up that they do the NHL 20 sim and the Flames win the cup.
Mind blowing. I didn't think that would ever happen. Ever. Never mind. Like that 94 Canuck team. I know they didn't win it against the Rangers, but like they were by no means like a spectacular team or anything. But they caught fire in the playoffs, and there you go, all the way to the end. Yeah, that's all you need, right?
Yeah, that's all it takes. Like, I mean, we've seen so many runs like that over the course of years here. Like, I mean, like the last 2 decades, there's probably been a good handful of teams that have gone all the way, that have been 7th, 8th place.
Look at the Canadian teams basically in the last 20 years that have gone. Ottawa, Edmonton, Calgary, right? Like all those teams were Cinderella-ish teams riding a goalie.
Yeah.
Right? And it was
the Hamburglar.
Yeah. Man, it's.
I mean, and like when you kind of start thinking about like Minnesota, they could have kind of been a team that's almost like in that boat of
they absolutely could have been
possibility, And
the only thing they were lacking was consistent goaltending, and taking nothing away from Stalock, and taking nothing away from Devin Dubnyk. Devin Dubnyk was dealing with a lot of personal, shit,
tons.
With his wife being very ill and having to be in and out of the lineup due to supporting her. I mean, man, being a goalie, it's a hard job anyways. Mentally, I couldn't imagine having to perform at the highest level. With a team, who's actually trying to like get into the playoffs, and who's on that bubble, like you said, and also have to deal with the weight of familial responsibility. I don't even want to call it responsibilities, just pressures and I guess, responsibilities as a husband and a father. So if Minnesota, and I know Stalock was playing well, but if they were able to just kick up that goalie gear a little bit, like I truly think they would have had a shot, not at the cup necessarily, but at least a chance to catch some fire.
For sure.
Yeah, and maybe be a Cinderella story, because like Kevin Fiala was hot, Zach Parise was hot, The defense was playing very well, despite Matthew Dumba having an off year. I mean, Jonas Brodin was an absolute force in his two-way game this year. I think having the best year of his career. Ryan Suter had the best assist output in his career. And what sucks for me is like, though Mikko Koivu obviously is not the player he once was at 37, 38 years old. This would have been like his last hoorah, and he could have gone out on his own terms. Where now it's like, does he come back again? Can the Wild even bring him back with, let's be honest, a new GM and Billy Guerin who's putting his stamp on this team and moving them forward? I mean, they don't have a lot of roster space, and they have the likes of Kirill Kaprizov coming over from the KHL, and some players like Jerry Mayhew and Sam Annis in Iowa who, deservingly should be able to get a cup of coffee with this team. So it kills me for Koivu.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Like, you look at so many of your, just like for the Avs, the Avs had a real solid shot, and you get to the regrets of like, oh man, it'd be really nice if, you could go on the run that your team was hoping for. The Avs clearly were one of the favorites in the West, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But then you start looking at guys like Koivu, like you said, guys that are on the end of their career, and this might be it.
Yeah, and like even if the NHL resumes somehow, and I know Gary Bettman and the league is, been very public in saying like, we're going to give these bubble teams a chance, like those who are 1 point out. We're going to do something to at least get them into this hybrid style playoff tournament, Stanley Cup playoffs, if it's even going to happen, which I have so many thoughts on that. But even then, like it's the older players, it's the older teams who were, had their legs during the season, towards the end of the season, who were jacked up with momentum. It's gonna be hard for the Zach Parises, Eric Stahls, and Mikko Koivus to come out of this hibernation and dominate like they were.
Yeah. That's the thing, man.
Too big of a word, but you know what I mean.
You got to look at the risk reward. Maybe not. That's not the right term, but like rest versus rust, right?
Yeah.
Because the old guys definitely could have used some rest. This is clearly too much, though.
Yeah. No one wants this. Is like an entire off season, which is just so weird, right? And like at this point, it definitely I can't imagine that any player feels like they're game ready right now. So it's just so awkward. And yeah, like some of the older guys too, like you said, kind of rest versus rust. Like, yeah, you want the rest, but then how much rest is too much rest? And then they're at home taking care of 4 kids and.
Oh yeah, I'm sure all these
whatever.
guys are just hitting the weights every day.
Right. Exactly.
Oh yeah. Well, and what ice are they skating on? Like a quarter size shooting area in their basement of their mansions? Like, let's be real.
Like anything. Like slap on
that's
some
the
roller
thing, like,
skates or something. I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if it was to resume, then Tampa really has probably the best chance to win because Braden Point, who only has to munch a power bar before even getting on the ice, he's going to be the one to rip it up. While some of these older players, even those in like, I don't know, mid to late 20s, like it's professional athletes, but let's be serious here. You need a training camp even to shake the rust off in the beginning of the season. And I can't imagine there's going to be mini camps before this season resumes because there just simply isn't enough time.
Yeah. Hopefully Moose gets his game back together like he did coming out of the first training camp this year where he was just absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, didn't even have a training camp.
Didn't have a training camp. It was just unreal for the first month of the year.
That's
like,
true. For the Wild, I mean, Kevin Fiala missed most of his training camp, and he sucked at the beginning of the year. So it can go both ways.
It's not a good thing for you.
No.
So seems like a common theme for us, for the guests that we've seen, like a few of our guests over the last month and a half. The NHL loved the Craig Berube experiment. So this year, naturally, all the teams had to fire all the coaches. So how's life been without Brucey?
For me personally, because like I said, I've been a Washington fan for a while, and especially with the time that Bruce Boudreau was coach of the team. So I fell in love with the character that was Bruce Boudreau.
Brucey's the best.
Oh man, he's an amazing coach. He's an amazing coach. He knows the game. He's played, but he's such an open book, especially to the likes of Michael Russo from The Athletic, where he talks about how I could have been a really good hockey player, but I liked my snacks. I didn't necessarily take care of my body off the ice. And I enjoyed every minute of it from having fun and being like, I have the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm going to live it up rather than I'm going to win every single game and be the best player that I can be in the league. I mean, he kind of has admitted that, but as a coach, he has that mindset. And every team, whether in the minor leagues or at lesser levels and at the National Hockey League level that Bruce Boudreau has coached in a good chunk of time, he's brought them to the playoffs, and they've had regular season success. Has he got over that hump? No, but
Maybe
with
that's
the Minnesota
why.
Wild too. Well, yeah, but for the Minnesota Wild, it's kind of like his time ran out, and he wasn't Bruce's guy, or sorry, Billy G's guy. And he gave him a lot of rope this season. Actually, through the worst times, he gave him the most rope. It was actually when they started to get their skates under them that, well, the decision had been made to fire him. And it's kind of funny. Billy Guerin came out and said that he actually was supposed to fire him 2 games earlier than he actually did, but they won those 2 games, and it wasn't until like a loss after a devastating loss, anyways, that he's like, okay, I can pull the plug. But their interim coach has done a very good job, clearly, as they caught fire towards the end of the season. Do I think they move forward with him? I don't know, especially with, like you said, so many coaches were fired this year. There's so many great coaches available. Billy Guerin's definitely going to take the time to choose his guy.
The good news, though, is that Bill Peters is off the market.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah.
fucking Yekaterinburg. Oh, man, how long do you think he lasts there? Jesus Christ.
Well, and then he's got who the hell's the captain of that team?
Datsuk.
No, it's black dude. I can't. He played in. He played for Peters.
Nigel Dawes.
Yeah,
The
Nigel
KHL
Dawes.
legend.
Yeah, like, and it's just like, you guys realize why he got fired, right?
Well, you know what it was? I know you guys probably listened to Chicklets, and I think this was on that podcast, was Pavel Datsuk. That's his hometown team, and he vouched for him and said, like, this guy's a good NHL coach. You should probably hire him if we're gonna go one more year and try to chase a championship. But
Which I saw that, and it's just like, well, I mean, Datsuk did play for Peters, and he knows him, but he knew him as an assistant coach, so we'll see, I guess.
Well, and he barely understands English, so he didn't understand half of probably racial slurs.
Also, probably true. He probably understands the, like, smack upside the head part, though.
Oh yeah, I don't think you could do that to Datsuk, because his Russian mafia snipers in the arena would probably just take you out.
Putin would probably come after him.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I saw that he got a job, and it's just like, yeah, he would get a job in Russia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Yekaterinburg. I mean, it's a decent club from what I know. Like, from a Vancouver Canucks perspective, anyways. Like that big giant they had, Nikita Triamkin. He went back and played in his hometown of Yekaterinburg too, and apparently it's a decent club for what it is. I think it's it's a smaller city in Russia, anyways. But the fans there are pretty rampant, anyways.
Nice. That's always a good spot, man. That's the one thing we don't have in North America is just, like, yes, fan bases are diehard, but fan bases in Europe and Russia and stuff, that is what diehard fandom looks like.
Oh man, especially like in Liga, from what I've heard, like in the Finnish Liga, apparently, like, because obviously the cities are smaller, yet they support a professional club because they don't have to make as much money. That's all they've got, exactly. So it's kind of like I don't know, like a CHL like club vibe, but on fucking steroids. And I know it's weird in Calgary where you guys are, because the Hitmen play in the Saddle Dome, so they never really sell it out. I mean, I actually used to have season tickets to the Hitmen, so I know. When I would go with the supporters groups up to Red Deer, for example, holy fuck was that buzzing. Like, it was insane.
I have done that trip before, and
hell yeah,
it is so fun being that away fan.
Oh yeah. And the Hitmen were a decent team. I forget, they had Victor Rask was on the team. I think it was Jake Virtanen's first year, or maybe it was the year prior to him joining. But Red Deer, they had Matthew Dumba and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins the year I had season tickets. So that was insane.
Wow. Yeah, that is a good year. Anyway, back to the Wild, I guess. So we've kind of talked about the regrets, I guess, if you want to call them that, of losing the chance at the Cup, or at least the playoffs period for the Wild. Obviously, our regrets and our feelings are very similar here in Avs country. But
yeah, absolutely.
Are you happy with what happened during the actual NHL schedule for the Wild?
I am overall, and I was so salty at the beginning of the season because they came out of the gate just looking absolutely terrible.
After you got really excited about preseason hockey, I know, I remember this.
Yeah, I won't get into that. Chirped a little too much on Twitter. I'm dialing down. No, that awful. I don't want to say the whole first half, but at least the first quarter of the season, they gained some traction, and then kind of, then lost a little bit. But I really do think overall, and I don't want to blame it all on this, but overall, you can look at their at their schedule. And I'm not one to make schedule excuses. Like, shit, I used to follow the Vancouver Canucks and cover them. And I very rarely bring up scheduling, which the Canucks even franchise has been vocal in complaining about to the league. So I don't think it's the be all end all. However, the Minnesota Wild played a stupidly heavy away schedule in the first half of the season. I want to say they like only played like 2 home games in a row, and then they would play like 10 on the road sort of thing. Like they didn't play in the first half of the season more than 3 fucking home games in a row. Then the second half, it was like 10 home games in a row and 2 games on the road. So obviously they played better at home. The Minnesota Wild are notorious for that. And even when they would play their 2 games coming back from a road trip, they predominantly won them in the first half of the season. So they played very well at home, and the road schedule I think they started off on like a 12-game road trip or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it was something similar to that. So just not being able to get your feet wet, shake the rust off at home, I think for a big chunk of it anyways, really hampered this team. They didn't really obviously take Bruce Boudreau's message as well as they've done in the past. I mean, Jason Zucker prior to being traded was vocal about that. But once they started to play at home a little bit more, even prior to Boudreau being fired, you could tell that the team is from the people I talk to anyways, who cover the team closely for The Athletic, or from, the Wild this year, having really ramped up their social media and sharing like in locker room meetings and stuff like that. You could just tell like the vibe changed. Like Matt Dumba was smiling again. Matt Dumba coming off pectoral surgery did not have the season that he wanted. Eric Stahl looked very good coming out of the gates. Zach Parise, who had a slower start, was actually, I believe, led the team in goals. And as everyone knows, Zach Parise, he doesn't score the most beautiful goals. He's a hard-nosed player, scores his goals from the dirty areas or takes the puck from corner battles to the front of the net. And it seemed like the whole team and fan base started to get excited. They were happy. And even with the firing of Boudreau, which was kind of a hit to the fan base, because like I said, he's such a popular coach. Like he's just as popular as some of the players in the Wild market. That was a little bit of a hit. But then with the trading of Jason Zucker and getting the return that the Wild got, people started to get more confidence in Billy Guerin's vision. And with this Kirill Kaprizov kid, coming over as soon as if the season resumes again, there's a lot of hope for this Wild team now. And with the emergence of Kevin Fiala, the emergence of Joel Eriksson X game, not necessarily as a point producer, but as a pest. I mean, I've read that some players hate playing against him more than they do Ryan Reeves out there because of his just like, honestly, he's just baby chubby Sweden face, doesn't really speak a lot of English. He can just get under people's skin because he's always whacking away. When players are going down, back to the bench, he's not overly dirty, but he's a force. So with the emergence of some of these players, I mean, even Ryan Donato, who wasn't Bruce Boudreau's main guy this season, on limited minutes, was able to score a ton of goals. I think there's a lot of hope for this Wild team. So the fan base overall, much like myself, walked away with hope. It just sucks that it ended the way it did, because it wasn't like, okay, we have hope and the team's obviously not going to make the playoffs. It's like, shit, we got hope. We got young players coming up. Billy G has a vision, and we're almost going to make the playoffs. So that's what was devastating.
Yeah, and I think, like you could see in the Wild their morale and their just like emotion together changed over the course of the year too. You could tell just watching early games and then watching like some of the last 15 games that they played. It was like, whoa, this is a way different team.
Definitely.
And like,
absolutely.
Speaking of Fiala too, I picked him up too in my pool because I seen this guy
good.
just going off, and he was really helping me too. But man, that trade
Scored
now
every night for like what, 14 games or so, or 12 games or something like that. It was insane.
And some absolute beauties too.
Oh.
You're just like, whoo! Like, I can't remember the exact one, but the one that he just walks in and just shoves up, just like, oh,
dude, he toe drags like it's nothing. It's stupid.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
So like that trade has definitely got to look pretty good now at this point.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
Michael
everyone at the
Granlund
beginning
for Fiala, it's like,
oh man, at the beginning of the season, everyone was hating Paul Fenton.
Right
now, not so bad.
Right, because there was a lot of chatter, and I was like, oh, maybe they did make a mistake, and then you see what he did in the second half of the season, and you're like, oh, okay, this guy's got some juice. He's looking like a stud out there.
You mean he's been healthy for a while and he's going to be better? Wow, weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and he's been given more rope, right? Like he's a big minute man now. He's a top line player. Where in Nashville, he was a secondary scoring option.
Yeah, for sure. And then speaking of like the Jason Zucker trade, that's the only trade that I don't even know if you can really consider it a trade deadline. It was a couple weeks before, but what do you think about that trade? I mean, you get Galchenyuk, and he's been struggling. He's never really kind of hit his stride and like his potential that everybody's kind of put on him. What do you kind of think about that trade?
I honestly, I love the trade. And to be honest, the big piece in it was not even Galchenyuk to me. He was just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was. And a pretty damn good dump, if you ask me. Now, I don't even think the Wild are going to keep him moving forward. Now, they could if he stays on a team-friendly contract. And it's not like he has a ton of leverage right now to gain a long-term deal. However, I think he gets a worse rep than he actually deserves. And I had a writer for NHL.com who covers the Phoenix Coyotes, the Arizona Coyotes, joined me a few episodes back, and he really painted him in a good light too, saying that like, no, when the Coyotes had no goal scorers, Alex Galchenyuk, though his defensive game is he's not a two-way player, he's not a true NHL center, but what he brought to that team was like, this guy puts in the effort, and Michael Russo said that as well when he joined the Wild, that this guy, like, he doesn't take any days off. He's one of the most hardest workers on the ice. It's just sometimes the hockey mind is just not at the elite level where his skill could arguably be at if they coincided, because there's plays that I watch this guy do and I'm like, wow, like the skill is there, the shoot first mentality is there, but then you see him battle against the boards and it's like, okay, I just don't think he knows what to do, where to put the puck, where to send it back to an open teammate. So just kind of details in that game, but overall, like, the guy has some tools, and it was good that they got them to fill in that vacant Zucker spot wherever it was on the second or third line on the team. But getting the defensive prospect in a first round pick, I mean, that's what I thought Jason Zucker was worth anyways. And to get that extra piece that, hey, maybe they can re-sign, maybe he would have showed well in the playoffs. Who knows? But anyways, just having that extra piece I thought was outstanding, especially because it's not really costing them anything.
Right. Yeah. Like I thought, like looking at that trade, it looks like they definitely got a decent amount back, which is and a lot more than I thought they would. But yeah, like Zucker was a good character player.
Zucker's a solid player always.
Yeah, and he's a good goal scorer. I know his shooting percentage kind of like jumps to like astronomical amounts and then back down to like less than average every now and then. But as a result, he's pretty even overall in his career. And yeah, I think it was a great trade. And I don't know what's going to come of Alex Galchenyuk. He had a respectable 7 points in 14 games with the Wild. I know in Pittsburgh it didn't work. But in Arizona, I mean, 41 points last season, and then the year before 51, tying the team in goals with 19. So he scored 30 throughout his career. He scored 20. So it's not like this kid can't play. He's just not he's just not labeled a third overall pick,
Yeah, which generally seems to happen with players for sure. It's happening in Colorado with Tyson Jost. Is what it is. We've had our rants about Tyson Jost here before too. Hypothetical question here. I've been asking a couple people just because I can. Now this probably isn't happening, but hypothetical, if the cap does drop, if the NHL decides that's the answer and a compliance buyout is an option, is Zach Parise the obvious answer, or is there somebody else you would look at?
I don't know if he's the obvious answer, because maybe when he was really struggling with his back issues a few years ago, prior to getting I think it was a second surgery and really shaking off the rust, I would have said yes. However, Zach Parise could probably still be productive for this team into throughout the end of this contract. Now, I'm not saying like it's going to be
$7.5 million, obviously.
Well, that's the thing, right? And especially with some of these young players emerging, like you're gonna have to pay them. But right now, like they don't have to pay Kaprizov. Right now, they don't have to pay Fiala. He has 1 more year left on his contract. I honestly think Zuccarello would be the one, because it's the piece that they don't necessarily need right now, and he could have the most drop off. Now, I talked to some like Rangers diehards, and they say that like, no, this was just a bad year. He's already so fast that if he does scale back, he's going to be kind of like on par with the rest of the league aging, where Zach Parise really could slow down, but Zach Parise brings other elements. So it's a really good question. I'd say from like a pure logic standpoint, it would have to be either Zach Parise or Ryan Suter. But I think that when push comes to shove, if that happens, the Minnesota Wild may use it on the likes of Zuccarello.
All right. That's why I wanted to ask it, because obviously you're looking at the top numbers, and it's not Dumba, obviously, and it's not Spurgeon. Like, obviously not those guys.
No, Spurgeon's going to be great into his 30s, man. This guy's a fucking water bug out there.
Right, and Dumba, he's going to be 29 at the end of his contract, so it's like, that, clearly you're not buying that guy out. But it's Zach Parise getting into his, is it 40 or 41 when his contract ends? That's the scary part to me.
I think it's 40 for both of them.
Yeah, so it's
for Suter and him.
Yeah.
And Suter hasn't looked like bad at all. If anything, like he's gonna be a staple on that back end throughout the year. Like he was never the fastest guy, yet he's a setup fucking machine. It's insane.
And he pumps out 25 minutes a night still. Like it's
dude. He's such an underrated defender in the league. Like when him and Shea Weber were together on Nashville, from a Vancouver Canucks perspective, like I've never seen the Sedins get shut down like they were against that duo. It was insane. Like if it wasn't for Ryan Kessler pissing them off, the Canucks would not have walked away from that series. I'm dead serious. Like
to think back to a time where Ryan Suter and Shea Weber were a pair.
Yeah, that was wild,
dude.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
dude. In my opinion, Shea Weber is gonna go down as one of the best defenders to ever play in the league because from a pure defense standpoint. Put it this way, like if you're a player coming down the wing, are you fucking scared of Erik Karlsson or fucking Shea Weber, dude? Like, and that's what it comes down to. That's what defense comes down to. And on top of it, he put up 50 points as well.
That's what I was gonna say, right? You say Ryan Suter's underrated, but the reason he's underrated is because he doesn't do the offensive like anything hardly. Like you said,
he has 50 to 40 points every year.
Yeah, because he's on the ice for the whole game. You're bound to get some assists.
That's the that's the responsible. It's like it kind of reminds me. Obviously, Johnson isn't even close to Suter, but same kind of category.
Yeah,
just like very hard
player,
to play against and always doing the right things with the puck. You know, that's all it takes is like a good bounce pass, breakout pass, and boom, there's your assist because you send Buddy on a 2-on-1 with your. Yep. Yeah, so
and someone who can break out, not necessarily in like in a fancy way like Jonas Brodin does or Cale Makar for you guys, but someone who can win the battle and at least get it to the guy who's gonna take it through the neutral zone.
Make the smart play, right?
Yeah.
But again, right, in the same aspect you're saying, like Ryan Suter may slow down. People have been saying that about Shea Weber, and look what happened, right? Like,
well, with all his injuries too, man, that guy's it. Again,
dude basically
BC boy, I fucking love him.
Yeah. Well, oh my God, we can go back to that. His junior days was unreal.
Yeah.
But right, like Shea Weber basically has an ankle that's Erik Karlsson-esque, and he can still play hockey where Erik Karlsson is a question mark.
Yeah.
You want to hear something crazy about ankles? So, this Joel Eriksson kid again, I've really liked his game.
I like him too.
He only put up like around here. I got it up in front of me here. I think it was just shy of 30 points. Yeah, 29 points, 8 goals, 21 assists in 62 games in what realistically was his first full season as like as a role player on this team. Like there was no risk of him getting benched. He was being used. There was one play, and I don't remember if I talked to you guys about this or someone else on the Hockey Podcast Network, but he blocked 3 Shea Weber shots. I believe like 2 clappers and a wrist shot in the same fucking play, man. Like insane,
right?
Absolutely insane. So talk about breaking ankles, man. I'm pretty sure he actually fractured his ankle and leg.
That's actually like clinically insane. Like who the hell does that? But yeah, I remember that was us. You talked to us right before, because I was right before the Minnesota and Colorado game. And then I watched Eriksson and Greenway, I think, was on that line. Yeah. And who was the other one? I can't remember.
Luke Cunnin.
Yes. And you told us to watch those guys, and I did watch those guys, and that line is like, they're ferocious, man. And
they all
bring
bring
a lot
something else to the table, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the line that gives you the heebie-jeebies. You're like, oh, man, I don't like when they're on.
Yeah. Yeah, they put on a lot of pressure, so...
What's cool about this team, because it's deep, right, where Eric Stahl can play a lot of minutes still, but play against like the third line matchup and still be dominant. Because when I had Dan Hamhuis on my show, even at this age, he still said, like, as a defender, like, Eric Stahl is still one of the more dominant forces in the league, and who I fear coming down, the wing or the center ice when I have to defend him.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have the first-hand look or her first-hand perspective from a guy like that. Well, you're a busy dude, so we've kept you for your half an hour. It was a blast.
Oh, guys, thank you so much. I wish I had more time, so I'll have to jump back on soon. Unfortunately, I got back-to-back interviews today. Interviewed Brad Lieb for episode 55 of the Soda Pod, and then banking Ryan Carter Former Minnesota Wild player, former Anaheim Duck, Stanley Cup champion with them as a Black Ace, which is a cool story we're going to get into.
Hell yeah.
And then obviously played so well with the New Jersey Devils in 2012 when they went on their run. So super excited to talk to him literally in a few minutes here. And so we got some great guests coming up on the
Awesome.
Soda Pod, not just Bradley Lieb and Ryan Carter, but a few more guests coming down the road too. Connected with this hockey mom who actually wrote a children's book about hockey, and it's she has a lot of cool stories to tell as well. So I can't wait to bring that aboard too. But yeah, thanks again, guys, and yeah, anytime, give me a shout. It's always fun talking hockey with you guys.
Yeah,
Same
man.
goes for us. Yeah,
Yep.
man.
Again, Blasty Blast. Anybody who was listening to all that jazz that's coming up on the Soda Pod, go check them out. It's going to be a great listen. Again, thanks, Ish, and we will catch you next time.
All right, stay safe, guys. Talk to you soon.
See ya. Again, huge thanks to Isha for joining the podcast today. Busy guy, fits us in whenever we need, and it was a good time to chat about the Minnesota Wild.
Hell yeah.
As much as we don't like the Minnesota Wild here, I mean, they do have a decent host, so we got to give them some love.
I mean, I feel like there could have been a well, you never know. Still could be a possibility that you'd see a Minnesota Avalanche matchup.
Dude,
you never know.
now I'll go, now that you bring that up,
Like,
I would
they win their
obviously
series.
I would 100% take a Minnesota Wild series over Dallas. That would be sick. Bro.
Definitely. It would be A, no Ben Bishop.
Yeah.
B, how could you not get on board with a Minnesota Avalanche friggin' matchup? That'd be super fun. Clearly, they don't like each other very much.
Any in division game like series is going to be fun, but that would be really.
That's
fun.
probably the biggest one, I think, for the Avs.
But yeah, it was a blast as usual with Isha and filling some hard earned content hours, and he himself is doing a ton of content hours. He's interviewing people left, right, and center lately.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, thanks for listening to this week's Offside by a Mile podcast, and we will catch you next week with another great guest. And
hopefully some exciting stuff coming up.
Hopefully some good news in the NHL front, like, salary cap news and potential plans to get back to playing hockey.
Yeah.
It's coming soon. It definitely seems like Gary Bettman and them it's this week or maybe next week.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I gathered from what Sakic was kind of saying when DNVR was talking. I think it was Kyle Keefe was talking to him.
Right.
And so at least there's moving parts, man. It's coming. All we can do is be patient.
In a time of a lot of negativity, it's nice to see some positive outlooks, hopefully.
And
obviously it's the NHL, it's a business, they're trying to get back to making money.
Yeah.
But at least they're optimistic. Jared Bednar optimistic, there's some optimism around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, until then, we will continue coming to you every Monday, and thanks for tuning in. The biggest thing you can do to support us is by going to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and giving us a 5-star rating. Also, if you're looking to donate to the network, visit the Hockey Podcast Network's Patreon page. All donations go straight to the podcast host. Thanks, and see you next episode.
You're listening to the Hockey Podcast Network on Twitter @HockeyPodNet. New episodes every Monday and Thursday. Download at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com or wherever you get your podcasts from.